Hmm. Hi guys, welcome back to our channel. If this is your first time, I'm Elsie and this is
Tony.
It's actually been quite a while, but we're back and we hope to be more consistent.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So what are we talking about today?
We're talking about depression.
I wanted to do a drum roll.
Oh, that's well, people who are depressed don't feel like drum rolls. But having said that, yeah, you can't be depressed full time, or you'd be sad if you are.
Yeah.
So, and you've done some research on this subject, Elsie.
I have. Yeah. So it's quite. To be fair, I was quite surprised at some of the statistics. It was quite alarming. Because I knew there were many people who were depressed, but I didn't think that it was, I didn't think it was quite a high percentage. Yeah. So do you know what percentage of the world is depressed?
Oh, I think I read somewhere that it was about 5%.
It is.
Wow.
And 5% of the world's population. What's the world's population right now? We're like 8 billion.
8 billion, yeah.
Yeah. So 5% of 8 billion is about 300 and something million. It's about 350 million.
Your maths is going to be skewed.
No.
Or 10%. Well, actually, you're not too bad.
No.
Yeah, it's not too bad, yeah, because it's last year's figures. But yeah, it's a huge amount of.
It is.
It's a huge amount of people, and you have to think, well, what is it that's really making so many people depressed?
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't think we can speak for every country under the sun, because there's so many differences.
Yeah. Would you want to just talk in relation to Britain then?
But in Britain, yeah, there's a huge number here as well. In actual fact, it's a worse number here.
It is, yeah.
Yeah. So I think, what was it?
16% of all
So
British
1 in
people.
6 people are depressed.
Yeah.
And they're cutting across all ages, genders.
And races. Just
Wow.
1 out of 6. If you take 6 people, one of them would be depressed.
Right.
What do you think is causing this high levels of depression in people all over the world, and in Western countries especially?
In particular, sure.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, according to what you read, some of the problems, of course, which make people feel depressed are lack of employment, lack of opportunity, extreme poverty, ill health, bereavement, lack of any of these things which are considered valuable. But I think there has to be something more widespread, a more generic cause than that.
Yeah.
Really, because how do things affect so many different people, right, who are totally different in so many ways, and yet getting depressed? What is it? I think that thing you spotted about people having a low self-esteem.
Yeah.
I mean, this, I don't think, just applies to people on social media or people in dead-end jobs. This, if you don't really have a sense of value,
sense of self-worth
in your life, if you don't have a sense of value, then you're far more prone to become affected by those things in a negative way, because employment, unemployment, relationship failures, bereavements.
Yeah.
These are things which basically everyone has to deal with at some point.
Yeah.
It's very, very few that escape all that. And but the number of people who become totally depressed through it, so much depends as to what software you're running in the first place. If you're running a software which sort of absorbs those hits and internalizes them, and then your whole world view is changed because of that negativity. Or if you have something which enables you to to roll with the punches, so to speak. That you feel the hurt, you feel that, but it doesn't affect your self-importance. And I mean that in the best way, not the self-importance of stupidity, where people think...
Not the narcissistic kind.
Yeah.
Not the
Yeah, but have a
Yeah.
real sense of your value and
Your value,
importance.
yes.
Because if you have that, then you're able to stand up to so much more of that negative stuff. That's my impression from everything I've lived and learned and read, and from meeting quite a few people, and shared some of they shared their stories with me as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
And low esteem seems to be the common factor, really.
so do you think that low self-esteem would be the umbrella cause of like people, all the, when you go online and you search for causes of depression, you see alcoholism and like addiction to different things, or economic hardship and stuff like that. Do you think that low self-esteem has a big part to play in all these other things that cause depression?
It's a good question, but I think actually, if you ask me straight out, I think it does. Because, okay, let's say economic hardship.
Yeah.
And something that you haven't caused yourself, whether it's the political or the economic situation that you're in.
Yeah.
It could be the fault of your government, it could be whatever. If you have got a well-balanced view of reality, if you've got a sense of your own worth, and there's something missing in your life that you need to get more money to provide for your kids or whatever, well, you have energy and positivity towards finding some solution.
Right.
If you don't have that energy and positivity, well, you're now in this downward spiral, and you can't take the steps that you need to improve that.
Yeah, and then it actually reflects in all aspects of your lives, doesn't it?
Same with the relationship.
Yeah.
A person who's got a sense of their own value can say, well, that relationship didn't work, okay. Maybe it was a bit of my fault, maybe it was a bit of the others, but it didn't work. So now, without being callous, I am going to move on and into the future. Whereas a depressive person or a person without sense of value, I've been rejected.
Yeah, and then they put the blame on themselves. If someone who doesn't have who has low self-esteem or who has no form of self-worth gets like they react to rejection differently, don't they? Because then they would normally say it's because of who they are or what they look like, or something that they did. Whereas if you knew what you had, if you knew who you were, and if you had any form of self-value, you'd know that sometimes things just don't work out, and it's not because of how you look, or sometimes it's not. It could be your fault, but then not because if you had any form of self-worth, then you can move away from that. Maybe not easily, but at some point. Move away from it.
We're talking about relationships now.
Yeah. So how are you able to tell? I mean, because sometimes as human beings we'll get sad at some point. Like you can just not feel like doing anything, or not feel like talking to anyone. Like you're just sad. How are you able to tell if you're just sad or you're depressed?
Because obviously there's quite a close relationship between those two states.
It is,
but
there is.
I think the true depressed state would be when you can't just shake it off. It's nothing you can shake it off. So they pull yourself together. We
hear that a lot.
And it's if it's a temporary condition, the person's feeling sad or they're feeling down. Yeah, okay, things can lift them. But if you're in this state locked into a depression, then no, even though you know that you should, and you know some way that maybe it is possible, it doesn't feel possible to you at that time.
Yeah, using that because there are social media pages that kind of talk about depression, or like groups for depressed people, and you realize that depression it shows itself in so many forms. Because we have this particular view of what depression should look like, but depression definitely doesn't present itself as the same thing. Like there are people that are just extremely happy And actually, that's a way that you can know that the person is depressed. Apparently, that psychologists say that like people just put up that front so that you don't ask, oh, what's wrong and stuff like that, or they try to make other people happy just to like make up for how they feel in themselves.
Sure.
So it's either you're like, you meet people who are really really happy or really really sad, and both of them are depression. Or you can meet someone who's like extremely dirty and like cluttered life, nothing is planned or arranged, and that's one form of depression. Or like there are people that are extremely clean, like always arranging things.
Absolutely, yeah.
And that's also, that can also be depression, you know.
It comes out in so many different ways.
It comes out in so many different ways.
Yeah.
So
well, I mean, the alcohol, you mentioned alcoholism, drug abuse, disordered eating, which I suffer a bit from myself.
Are you depressed?
No, I'm not depressed, but you know, so I mean, obviously there are many reasons why people, not everyone, for example, who is has an alcohol problem, is depressed, not at all. But there is a link for many people with, well, basically trying to sort of maybe self-medicate to counter the sadness or loneliness or depression or the things that lead to it. You know, I'm sure there is a place for medical intervention, and neither of us are sort of medically trained. But the sheer scale, you know, when you're talking about hundreds of millions of people worldwide, or sort of what was it, 16% for Britain, 16% of 6 million. We're talking about 1 million.
Yeah.
Oh my God, 1 in 6. No, more than, hang on, Tony. 1 in 6, 60 million. We're talking about nearly 10 million people
who are depressed in this country.
In the UK.
Yeah.
That's a huge quantity.
Yeah.
And what is, I mean, we're all we're living in a country where there isn't the kind of major disasters happening all the time. Like, actually, God help us, as poor people in Turkey have suffered. And Syria, just this last week, we're living in that. We've had a peaceful environment, reasonably healthy, welfare state to support people from falling into extreme poverty. And we've never had as much in the way of toys or of things to play with, means of communicating, all that. Why we're so sad. And it comes back to, I think, this, we're not placing value, understanding the value in ourselves and in our fellow human beings. The value seems to be ascribed to the things. So my value is more than your value if I've got more things than you've got, or I've got more expensive things. So the guy that drives a car costing 100 grand, he is more
important
than the guy that's driving a car that costs 5 grand, you know? And really, it doesn't work. It shouldn't work that way.
Shouldn't, but it does,
And but we accept that. We say, okay, well, what's 100 grand got the other one has got, apart from having more money? Does it mean he's more intelligent? Does it mean he works harder? Does it mean he stole a lot of money? I mean, somewhere along the line, what's happened? Or did the guy who spent only 5 grand on the car say, well, tell you the truth, I'm quite comfy in my own skin. I don't see the point in wasting a load of extra money on a tin box which will rot one day, and this car does me fine, you know? But
I mean, not to say you shouldn't get yourself nice things.
No.
You can and you should get yourself nice things. Just don't get too attached to these nice things.
Because that is one of the things that, as far as depression goes, if you lose something which you become very attached to, now that can be your looks, or a possession, or of course a relationship, or somebody. If you become so attached to them that your sense of identity, your whole sense of value is tied up with that, and then that stops being there for you. Oh my God. There's going to be one layer of sadness when you're sad because that nice thing is not in your life. And then the possibility of becoming very down because, is it my fault? Did that person leave me because they sense what I really was like. Is the universe trying to punish me for something? Is this fair? You know, really.
Yeah.
People. And it's a different thing if you feel like secure in your own skin type of thing, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. So, I see you keep talking about finding an inner sense of value, or being secure in your skin, or having self-worth, really. And the opposite of that is mostly the umbrella cause of depression. But how do you find this inner self-worth? Like, how do you come to a point where things on the outside don't affect you as much because of what you have on the inside? How do you get to that point?
Well, the thing on the inside needs to be stronger than the things which are going to oppress you from outside. It's like, you know, if you want to walk out in the rain and you're wearing a raincoat, it needs to be waterproof. Otherwise, it just lets the rain in. So the thing inside now, instead of the outside, the thing inside needs to be strong enough to take you through that. And people listen to all sorts of things which might help them, and maybe some things do help, but the fact remains that there's so many millions of people suffering from this and making the pharmaceutical companies rich in the process, with the amount of people who've been legally addicted to these substances and they can't get themselves off it. And I'm not blaming them. They've taken it in good faith. Doctors, we're talking about legal
prescriptions.
Legal prescription drugs. Doctors give it to them. They've taken good faith, and then they find that they're dependent on that. And it's very difficult for doctors to wean people off them. So it's cost money, and it's doing long-term damage to people as well, because it sort of keeps them in a state of semi-numbness after a while, and they can't function without it. So that's the downside of it. Well, many different approaches, if you like, is you should have this and you'll be happy, you should have that and you'll be happy. And most of these approaches, they work for a while, as indeed does alcohol. Alcohol or euphoriants work for a while, certainly can make you feel happy and throw off all sorts of misery. But then when they wear off, the problem, the depression, the loneliness, whatever, is still there. And maybe even worse. But even if it's the same, then you have to sort of do something again. So, and the same way with buying new toys. You buy that new car, you buy the new clothes, yes, or whatever. and it's at the moment you're getting it, it's exciting, it's there, it's good. But then after a while, well, okay, you don't hate them, but it's just your clothes then. And so we need something which can help, which can last longer. Now, everyone prides himself on being able to find their own way. It's an independent spirit we've got. Well, okay. All I can say from my experience is that the thing I found, or the one I found, much to my complete surprise, having lived absolutely, coming from 13 years as an atheist, having discovered the peace that comes from recognizing my value as a child, not just a child of the universe, but a child of the maker of the universe. And that sense of value is something, well, it's just something incredible. It's over the top. Now, in the context of that value that I was sort of created in love, and I have an eternal destiny, that's kind of what? That kind of feeling, that kind of understanding, that does help in keeping down any negative feelings, dismissing them, because you can recognize that they are temporary, that they're not going to be there forever. Whereas when you haven't got something as strong as that, then all the negative feelings can say, hey, we're not just as strong as the other side, we're stronger. And that is a lie. But of course, it's a lie that a lot of people, unfortunately, they believe, not because they're bad people, but because the lie is presented so convincingly. Because when you look around, if you like, in general at the world, it does look as though evil has got the upper hand. So the negative things, if you like, have the upper hand over the positive things.
And then if you try to present the positive things, then you're in the minority, aren't you? So it's quite difficult to present positive things in in today's world. Actually, it's a lot easier to present negative things than it is to present positive things.
Sure.
Because negative things are definitely winning.
But like they say, it may not be politically correct. There used to be a saying the show's not over till the fat lady sings, and or till the final whistle blows. And yes, that'll be the one which has really shown which is the most powerful at the end of the day, because the things which we see that look to have so much power, they crumble, and the people crumble. I mean, our most famous and most powerful dictators who controlled millions of lives and took millions of lives in their time of power, where are they now? What's happened to them? Where is Hitler's power? Where is Stalin's power?
Yeah.
You know, but the evil that they might have done and did do, that goes on to other people who then, if you like, espouse the cause of evil and take it on board and do it. So the challenge maybe for us who feel differently is to be willing to take on the cause of good and to stand for that as well.
Yeah.
And in the process of that also can give us a purpose. And if you have a real purpose in life that is tied up with that identity of value that you have, then you're far less likely to become depressed or terminally lonely or any of those other things, or to bring it into a context which is very much relevant for young women, as to how you look on Instagram. Which is true when you're looking at the way that influencers go over, and so you should look like this, you should dress like that. And I mean, there's many causes for feeling miserable. If you're a young person, you feel you don't fit in. I'm so sick of myself. You're a guy who's stuck in a job and he feels I've been stuck now and I can't leave it because I need this job to support my family. And yes, I know I'm being undervalued and underpaid. And
You speaking of Instagram just made me think that like it just ties in very well with your sense of self-worth and your sense of self-esteem, because I've not been on Instagram very long, but there's been so many trends. Like today, this is in vogue, and then the very next day, oh, that's not in vogue anymore. It's something else. So funny enough, you can, like, people would actually go through surgery to look a certain way. A couple of years back, this was what was acceptable. This was what was in what's the word, in fashion. This is what was in fashion, and you'd have a whole surgery to do that. A couple of years later, it's something else. So imagine if you do not love yourself, you don't have a sense of self-worth, you're just going to be changing with the times. Can you imagine the amount of change you have to go through every single time something
comes? That's another bit off me, Doc.
It's always something coming up, and I'm a young person, but I'm always amused, honestly. Like couple of years back, I never used to see people piercing their face and stuff like that, but that's a common thing now. People pierce their face and put earrings on, and it's quite like, it's quite, it's fashion. How is that fashion? But that's what I think. So it's just, if your sense of worth comes from what other people think about you, then you're never going to be satisfied, really, because this person is going to say that, and that person is going to say that, and that person says this today, and tomorrow they're going to say something else.
That's right. Yeah.
But
no, you're really putting your finger on it there. That's this business about other people's approval, and so many people tie their happiness, if you like,
Yeah.
to the approval of other people, and you're really setting yourself up for
Yeah.
failure there,
Yeah.
rather than being comfortable. By all means, have ambition to sort of make the best of yourself,
Yeah.
to do the best you can, but at the end of the day, you needn't make other people the judge of you. Your God, if you believe in Him, is going to be your judge, and by all means, you judge yourself in the sense that you evaluate how you are, but not in relation to other people, as to the standards they've imposing on you and things like that, you know?
Yeah.
Because maybe they're just imposing these to cover up their own sense of insecurity.
Yeah. And you would never know.
Well, that's right. I will feel more secure if I put you down and make you feel insecure.
Yeah.
I'm your guru now, you know? Come on. You know?
Yeah.
So
Oh my God. Yeah.
There's a saying somewhere that says, if the blind lead the blind, well, there we go.
Yeah. Yeah. So what would be your last words to people? What would you say to people who are currently facing depression? What should they do? Because a lot of people are on antidepressants, and statistics do show that antidepressants only have, cured, in quotes, depression for about 15% of people who use them, and that's a really small percentage for people who are using it. A lot of people use these things for a lifetime.
Sure.
So why would they still be using it if it's just curing 15% of the number of people using them? So
no, right. I think it said that 15% of people feeling we're getting a positive.
We're getting a positive effect,
from this,
but not curing, not even curing.
15% more than the placebo group.
Placebo group,
and it's quite amazing. There's such a huge percentage, if you like, outside the 15%, such a huge percentage could be getting benefit from a placebo. Of course, I don't think it would necessarily make the drug companies much profit if they were selling placebos, although they could do a lot worse in one sense, at least if they were giving somebody what looks to be a dummy pill, but if it had the desired effects with people and didn't give them side effects, it probably would be doing people a favour. Just imagine, instead of people being addicted to an antidepressant, they're addicted to what they believe is an antidepressant, but it's not doing them any harm
and
whatsoever.
It doesn't do any harm. It's just good.
Quite good. But of course, if in fairness, if a company was to sell that and then somebody would analyse things, it's ridiculous. They're selling you little dummy pills for £5 each or whatever it happens to be. You know, this is mad.
Yeah.
We want a real pill, even if the real pill addicts us. You know.
Yeah.
But I think everyone needs to find something which gives them strength, purpose, and value. And if you can find, I said honestly that I found this in coming to faith in Christ.
Yeah.
Now, there's other people, obviously, in different other religions who also find healing and help in that,
peace.
And there's some people, you need to find something. Now, I'll be honest, if I could honestly find something which gave me a greater sense of value, greater prospects for the future, greater everything, I would change. I would absolutely change.
Wow, that's really brave, isn't it?
Well, I would say that to all my Christian friends, I would absolutely do that. But before I do, give me a better deal. I want a better deal. I don't want to share. I don't want to give up something good unless I'm getting something better. Now that's logical. That's common sense. That's self-interested in the best way possible.
Yeah.
Why should you give up something good unless there's something better to take its place? And but anyway, that's what I would say to, for what it's worth, to anyone who's watching. I found that, and if you can find something better, terrific. In fact, share it with us.
Yeah,
and
put it in the comments.
If it really did exist, share it in the comments. If it really does exist, I tell you what, I'm willing to test it out, and I'm willing to go for it.
That's really brave, because I've realised that a lot of people who are in a particular religion, even without any logic, would just be on that side not try to find, any form of truth, but just because they were born into it, or because someone introduced them to that faith, they'll just stay there for the rest of their lives. But I quite like your stance on your faith and your religion, because you're like, oh, if there's a better deal,
sure.
Just, and on that note, let us know if you have a better deal. We've come to the end of our program. It was quite an interesting topic. We'll put some links in the description, some helpful links, and if you wanted to get in touch, we'll put our Instagram and Facebook links in the description. If you've watched to this point, you're obviously enjoying the program, so kindly like, comment, subscribe,
share.
And until next time, it's bye for now. If you like this video, kindly like, comment, and subscribe. You can also find us on other social media platforms, on Twitter at Talk with Tony and on Instagram at talkwithtony.live. Don't forget, live, laugh, and most importantly, love. Watch out for the next video. It's bye for now.